Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another Captain Kokomo video, but this time it's with a difference. Yes, we are playing a game, but I'd also like to... This one isn't about the game. This video is more about mental health and my experiences with it and what it can do to people and what it can do to your family and things like that. So I don't know, I would like to try and shed a little light on the subject because in my social media streams, I'm seeing more and more people that are having the strength to reach out and say, look, I need help. I need somebody to talk to. I need something. And that does take strength. I don't care who you are, what your situation is. That kind of stuff does take strength. It's not ideal to sit there in your own little shell and just wallow in your own self-pity for however long it takes for depression to fully get a grip on you. It takes more strength to show that you are willing to accept help from somebody. But anyway, like I said, I am Captain Kokomo, but I wasn't always Captain Kokomo. I wasn't always comfortable being happy and being out there and being the one making jokes and trying to entertain people. My story probably started a long time ago. From what I can remember, I was about 5 years old at the time. And I wasn't a very happy kid. That was through no fault of my parents, no fault of anyone. I just didn't know how to fit into my own skin. And there was nothing out there that there was nothing at the time to help me. That I was literally on my own at the time. Of course, it's understood now a lot better than it was. But anxiety and depression back then were thought of as made up things and just not something that people really could accept or would accept in schools or in general. So I struggled with it. I was often... Alright, I'll tell you the first example of what I can remember being some sort of anxiety or depression related issue. I was in first grade and I was sitting there in class and we were all learning, and I remember I was in probably one of the seats closest to the door, and I needed to go to the toilet. I was sitting there, my bladder was starting to get fuller and fuller, and I was thinking, oh geez, what do I do? What do I do? Oh, no. And I didn't have the guts to raise my hand and ask the teacher to go to the toilet. I felt like I was inconveniencing the teacher by asking to go to the toilet. Now, what kind of a mentality do you think a kid of 5 or 6 has to think that he's inconveniencing another human being? Now, before I go any further, my parents were loving. They may have divorced, but my parents still got along. They even hugged each other when they got out of the divorce proceedings. So I had a happy childhood. I have no regrets in my childhood. I was not abused or anything. But I sat there and I felt like I didn't want to inconvenience the teacher by asking to go to the toilet. I was bouncing, sitting there bouncing. I was doing it constantly, and I sat there for a good hour, or what felt like an hour, until I couldn't take it anymore. I had to relieve some of the pressure. So I wet my pants in first grade because I didn't want to inconvenience the teacher by asking to go to the toilet. Now, you won't understand what that's like unless you've been there. You can say, oh yeah, I know. But until you've actually experienced it, until you know what that feeling is like inside your own head, where you don't want to annoy somebody by asking them, by inconveniencing them, by asking them anything, by making conversation with them, until you realize that you are not inconveniencing them by just having a conversation, by saying hello. That is, it takes a lot to get to that point. Some people, their whole lives, don't ever get to that point where they get past it. I thankfully have, but it's a different journey for everyone. I still struggle with it from time to time, but my issues didn't stop there. I, in fact, got worse because I wasn't able to deal with it. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know how to fix it. I still struggled. I got worse. I shut off. I made very few friends in school. I was bullied constantly. I even picked on myself. I started beating myself up because I didn't know what was wrong with me. For 25 years of my life, I was my own worst enemy. I was my biggest bully. And that really does do a number on your head when you realize that. Because when you don't know how to ask for help, when you don't want to feel that vulnerable that you have to ask for help, it's an absolute mountain to climb. You don't know where to start. And you just sit at the bottom of the mountain looking up, thinking, I'll never get there. I will never get to that top. So that's where my experiences with depression started. Like I said, they got worse. I was bullied constantly. I was beat up constantly. I occasionally nerd raged and started fighting back. But for the most part, I was willing to just take it. It got to a stage where I was getting punched every day in school because I thought I deserved it. I wasn't worth anyone's time. I just felt like I deserved it. And that's not how people should be. That is not how you should live your life. I know saying that it doesn't help anyone, but that's how it is. You should not feel that way. That is not natural. But anyway, not to harp on a subject, but like I said, I didn't get much better throughout school, throughout high school. I stayed to myself. I didn't make friends. I spent most of my time in the library reading comic books over and over again because that's where I was comfortable. And I managed to slip by in school without failing, without excelling, without making friends, and yeah, I managed to get by. I managed to survive. Then I got out of high school and I hit the workforce. I got out of school early, to be honest, because school was not the best place for me. After my dad died when I was 15, I really hit the skids. I started thinking about suicide, and I started getting anxiety, and I was spending more time in the school counselor's office than I was in class. And I realized that school was not the right place for me at that time. And that's not something that I regret. But I kind of do wish that I understood more, if that makes sense. I could do it with a one-way road there. But anyway. Where was I? I was spending more time in the counselor's office, and I realized that school was not the right place for me. So I got out of school. I started trying to get a job. I got my first job at selling lollies door to door. That was an after-school job, I admit, but I got terrified of the dogs that would chase me, and yeah, walking up to strangers' doors and trying to sell them something when you have depression and anxiety and social anxiety, that can do one or two things. It can really help you get the confidence to get out there a little bit more, or it can terrify the absolute crap out of you, especially when the dogs come racing around the corner of the house and barking at you. When you're 14 years old, you're facing down a dog while trying to sell lollies to the owner. I nearly peed my pants again on that job. But I digress. So, moving on, I did actually get out of school. I didn't go back after the... Oh, well, I didn't finish school, basically. It's not something I regret. And I brought my baggage with me. I kept that mentality of, I don't deserve this. I don't deserve friends. I don't deserve anything. And I kept on dragging it to every job that I had, everywhere I went. That was like the anchor that I dragged behind me, and people could see it. That's what happens when you have that kind of baggage and you don't reach out for help. It starts to be like an anchor that you drag around with you, and people do notice. And unfortunately, bullies will notice. And that is something that... Unfortunately, that is something that they take pleasure in. And there's not a lot you can do about it. Because no matter what your parents tell you, no matter what the schools tell you, no matter what anyone tells you, bullies are not cookie cutter copies of each other. They will not leave you alone if you ignore them. And they are literally like a pack of wolves. When you get them together, they harass you and wear you down and continue to harass you with unending endurance until they break you. It's a game to them. Just like the wolves, it's a sport. They do it to survive, but bullies do it for fun. But the behavior is the same. I don't care what people say. I don't care who tells you that. Bullies will not ignore you if you simply leave them alone and give them no reaction. There are some that will, but for the most part, they won't, because I know. I have had experience with every kind of bully. I know. So the best way you can deal with bullies is to be a bully yourself. You fight back. You don't take their crap. You show them strength. That is the only way you will get past bullies. That will be one of your first steps to reclaiming your life. Now I might start sounding passionate about this, but this is something that I am extremely passionate about. I like I said, I've got experience with it. I don't want people to sit out there and have to put up with that crap. It's not fair on anyone. But I cannot sit back and watch people become the sport of bullies while people around them tell them to do nothing about it. Find any source of protection you can, but do not rely on it. You have to rely on your own strength that you have in you, and you all have it in you. I don't care who you are. You have strength in you. Use it. But anyway, bullying could be another whole video for me. Let me know down in the comments if you want to see something like that. I'm happy to do more videos on this subject. I'm not really doing much gameplay, am I? But anyway, like I said, I got bullied regularly and I didn't fight back. It's my own fault. And I feel like I learnt a lot from it, but I didn't learn enough. So I dragged that anchor around with me. I dragged it everywhere, and people used it against me. People found that the chinks in my armor, and that big black anchor turned into a big black demon that lived inside me that controlled me. That big black demon that lived inside me was called anxiety, and that harassed me every day. Until one day when the big black demon that lived inside me decided to come outside of me. And that was my first anxiety attack. I remember I was working at a retail shop. I had just been promoted to 2IC. How I did that, I thank my mother for. She helped me get that promotion. But I remember sitting in the office next to my manager. I was fine. Just going about daily tasks, doing reports and looking at numbers and getting the stuff moving and checking on stock levels and things. And I came back to the office, sat down at my computer, and I started feeling a little heavy in the chest. I was, what's this? What's this feeling? What's going on here? Then it felt like it was growing. It was a wave of force that I'd never felt before. It was swelling up, and it came crashing down on me. My chest tightened. I felt like the world had caved in on me. What is this feeling? Why am I crying? Nothing went wrong. Why am I upset? That was an anxiety attack. I'd never had one before, so that was an experience. I had to go outside. I had to calm down, and luckily the storeman at the time, you know who you are if you ever watch this video, which I don't know that you will, but I have to thank him because he got me through that, my first anxiety attack. A lovely Scottish gentleman. And he calmed me down, got me through the day. I went home and I started to think about my life. I can't remember if that was the time when I realized that I need to stop being depressed. I need to stop being the victim. I need to stop thinking of myself as the one who needs help. I just needed to stop thinking in general. I needed to start being the person that got help. And that's what you have to do. You have to stop thinking about how you need help, and you need to start taking steps, even if they are small ones, towards getting help. Because the longer you sit there thinking that you need help instead of getting help, the bigger your mud puddle will be, and you won't be able to get out of it. All right. I've written down a list of points, and yeah, I want to talk about all of them. But that is my story. That is a very brief rundown of my story and depression and how I dealt with it. And yeah, I feel like that qualifies me to have some sort of I don't know. I've got experience, I guess. It's experience in yeah, I've got experience. So I know what I'm talking about when it comes to depression and anxiety and how to deal with them, I guess. So I'm not a doctor. Please don't take any of what I say as gospel. It is not. I am not giving you medical advice. But anything I say in my videos is purely just advice from experience I've gained. So my next point is a quote, I guess, from Charles Swindoll. He's the author of The Grace Awakening. It's not a new book. It's been around for a while. It's a religious book, but I think this particular quote of his does apply to everyone. We cannot change the inevitable. The only thing we can do is play on the one string that we have, and that is our attitude. I'm convinced that life is 10% what happens to me and 90% of how I react to it. And so it is with you. We are in charge of our attitudes. I think that's pretty powerful. I think that was reinforced to me by my mother, who said, "What's to be is up to me," which in a roundabout way is the same thing. You choose what happens to you. You choose your attitude. You choose to get help. You choose to not be a victim anymore. You choose to be somebody who is getting help. You can still be suffering from mental illness and anxiety, but you don't have to be a victim. Stop thinking of yourselves as victims. None of you are victims. You are all people that are getting help. By clicking on this video, you are getting help because you are looking for support. You're looking for people out there who are experiencing the same thing as you. So you're not victims anymore. You're somebody who's getting help. So I want you to take that on, and I want you to think about that statement by Charles R. Swindoll. Life is 10% what happens to me and 90% how I react to it. That means you have the choice. You chose to get help. Now do something about it. Take those first steps to get the help you need. Choose to not be a victim anymore. I am John Gray. I am also Captain Kokomo. I'm also a dad. I'm also a husband. And I'm a real person just like you. So if you want somebody to talk to, if you want somebody that will listen, talk to me. If you want somebody who is going to hold your hand while you get the help you need, my hand is there. Leave comments down below if you want to share any of your own experiences. if you found any value in this video at all, please hit the like button, please hit the subscribe button, and please share to anyone else who you think needs help. I know the game is life, like the game is to win. Just like playing computer games, I haven't been doing much of that. I'm sorry if you're tuning in because of the game, but don't let that demon inside you rule your life, because that demon is you. You create that demon. You should be able to control it then. But until you know how to do that, I'm here. Doctors are there. Please go and get help.